What if the Mother of God appeared, not to a king or priest, but to a poor, barefoot man no one noticed? In December 1531, on a quiet hill outside Mexico City, a voice called in the native tongue. Roses bloomed in winter, and a radiant woman appeared, changing history forever. Who was she? Why Juan Diego? How did her message bring hope to a wounded people and still speak to us today? This is the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Before beginning, drop an Ave Maria in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more stories of Our Lady. Don't forget to share it so others may discover this story and be inspired to live holier lives. Chapter 1. The Poor Son of Mexico. In the valleys near the Lake of Texcoco, nestled between the ancient hills of the land now called New Spain, lived a humble man named Juan Diego. He was one of the Nahua people, an indigenous group whose roots went deep into the soil of Mexico long before the arrival of the Spaniards. Juan Diego lived simply, cultivating the land, walking gently through the world. Though he owned little, his heart was full of quiet reverence. Some years earlier, Juan Diego had heard the words of the Franciscan missionaries and felt something stir in his soul. He and his wife were baptized and began walking the path of the Christian faith. From that day forward, he prayed to the one true God with a childlike heart. Though he could not read, he listened closely to the Word of God and let it shape his life. He found in the gospel a message of mercy, and he embraced the church as his spiritual home. Every morning before the sun rose, Juan Diego would leave his modest hut in Cuautitlan and begin the long walk to Tlatelolco to attend Mass. The journey was long, over 10 miles each way, but he did not mind. With his tilma wrapped around him to ward off the cold, he walked through the fields and hills, praying quietly as he went. The Eucharist was the center of his devotion, and no distance was too far when love called him to the altar. But the land he walked was one of sorrow and division. The Spanish rulers saw the native people as inferior. Their culture was wounded, their language suppressed, and their lives often ignored. Juan Diego lived between two worlds, one ancient and one foreign. Yet he did not let bitterness take root. Instead, he continued walking, praying, and trusting that God saw and loved the little ones of the earth. Juan Diego was not wealthy or powerful. He was not learned or important in the eyes of men. But his faith was deep, and his heart was pure. He lived with his elderly uncle, Juan Bernardino, who was the last family he had left. Together, they lived quietly, relying on God's providence day by day. In a world that often forgot the poor, Juan Diego was rich in hope. And so it was, on the morning of the 9th of December, 1531, Juan Diego rose as he always did. Wrapping his tilma tightly around him, he set out once more toward Tlatelolco. The dawn air was crisp, the path familiar. Yet heaven had plans for this day. Something was waiting for him, something that would change not only his life, but the course of an entire continent. As he passed near Tepeyac Hill, nothing seemed different. But in the hush of morning, grace was already drawing near. The poor man of Mexico was about to hear a voice, not from earth, but from heaven. And so began the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Chapter 2. The Song from Heaven and the Radiant Woman. As the first light of morning reached the hills, something strange stirred the air near Tepeyac. It began not with thunder or wind, but with a melody soft and shimmering floating through the silence. Juan Diego, walking as he always did toward Tlatelolco, paused in wonder. The sound he heard was not of any earthly bird. It was as though heaven itself had opened, and a choir of angels had poured their song into the world. The birdsong swelled in harmony, echoing with a beauty too perfect to describe. The world around him seemed to hold its breath. Even the wind stopped moving. A golden stillness wrapped the hill, and a deep peace settled in his soul. The ordinary path he walked every morning had become sacred ground. Something holy was happening, and Juan Diego felt it, not in his mind, but in the depths of his heart. He was not afraid. He was drawn forward by a peace that felt like love. He turned his eyes upward and saw her. A radiant woman stood at the top of the hill, clothed in light more brilliant than the rising sun. Her robe gleamed with gold, her mantle sparkled with stars, and beneath her feet lay the curve of a silver moon. Light flowed from her presence, but it did not blind him. Instead, it embraced him. She stood not like a queen of armies, but like a mother, gentle, near, and full of compassion. Then she spoke. Her voice came not in the language of the Spanish conquerors, but in Nahuatl, Juan Diego's own native tongue. Her words were soft and tender, music in themselves. She called him Juanito, my littlest son, and her voice carried no command, only kindness. In that moment, he felt completely known. He was no longer just a poor Indian farmer. He was a beloved child, and this woman knew his soul. She revealed her name, the ever-virgin Holy Mary, Mother of the true and living God. She told him she wished a sacred house to be built on that very hill. There, she would listen to prayers, comfort the sorrowful, and show her love to all who came to her. "I want to offer my protection," she said, "to all who cry to me." Her eyes shone with a mother's concern for his people, for the suffering, for the forgotten. Juan Diego was overwhelmed. Why had the Mother of Heaven chosen him, so small, so unworthy in the eyes of the world, yet her love gave him strength. In her gaze, he saw no judgment, only trust. If she believed he could do this, he would not let her down. He bowed deeply, heart trembling with wonder. Then, filled with courage, he turned and began the journey to Mexico City. The lady's words burned in his heart like fire. A mission from heaven had begun, and he had said yes. Chapter 3. The Bishop's Refusal. The journey to Mexico City was long, but Juan Diego walked with steady purpose. In his tilma, he carried no object, no proof, only the message of a heavenly queen. The city's noise and stone buildings stood in stark contrast to the quiet hill of Tepeyac, but Juan Diego was not afraid. He asked to see Bishop Juan de Zumárraga, the spiritual leader of the land. By some grace, the bishop received him, a poor man with worn sandals and a trembling voice. With deep reverence, Juan Diego recounted everything the lady had told him. He described her radiant beauty, her gentle words in Nahuatl, and her request for a temple to be built on Tepeyac Hill. His voice was filled with awe, and his eyes glistened as he spoke. This was no tale or dream, he insisted. It was real. She is the mother of the true God, he said. She calls for a house of prayer, where she may comfort her children. The bishop listened carefully. He did not dismiss Juan Diego, nor did he mock him. But he was cautious. A request to build a sacred temple, especially based on a private vision, could not be taken lightly. There had been other stories, other visions. The bishop, though kind, needed certainty. He asked questions. He observed Juan Diego. And in the end, he gently said he would think and pray about the matter, but he gave no promise. Juan Diego left the bishop's residence with a heavy heart. The excitement and wonder he had carried into the city now felt like a weight. Had he failed the beautiful lady? Had he misunderstood her message? The city walls seemed taller, the streets colder. With downcast eyes, he began the walk back toward Tepeyac, where the birds had once sung like heaven. Arriving once more at the hill, Juan Diego found the lady waiting, just as radiant as before. Her presence brought comfort, but his voice faltered. He fell to his knees and humbly said, "Noble lady, I did as you asked, but I am no one. I am poor, unworthy. Please, send someone else, someone with education, someone the bishop will believe." His words were filled with sorrow, not rebellion. He only wanted her mission to succeed. But the lady did not accept his plea. She looked upon him with great tenderness and said, "Listen, my little son. There are many I could send, yet it must be you." Her voice was both gentle and firm, like a mother who knows what her child can become. "I have chosen you, and I will not forsake you." Her gaze lifted the burden from his heart. She was not disappointed. She was full of love. At that moment, something stirred deep within Juan Diego. Not pride, but a quiet courage. Not self-confidence, but unwavering trust in her. The radiant lady had chosen him, not for what he was, but for what love could make of him. Strengthened by her gaze, he stood up gently, heart renewed. He would not turn back. He would try again. Chapter 4. A Love That Will Not Give Up. With quiet determination, Juan Diego returned to the bishop's residence. The words of the lady still burned softly in his heart. Though he was tired and uncertain, he knew what he had seen and heard. Once more, he humbly requested an audience, and again, the bishop received him. Juan spoke of the beautiful woman, her message of mercy, and her request to build a sacred house on Tepeyac Hill. The bishop listened closely. He could see the sincerity in Juan Diego's eyes, but questions still lingered. Why would the Queen of Heaven appear to a man so simple, so poor? He did not dismiss Juan Diego, but he could not yet give his trust. Gently, he asked for a sign. "If this lady truly comes from heaven," he said, "ask her to give proof, a sign that no man can deny." His words were measured, but firm. Unknown to Juan Diego, some members of the bishop's household were instructed to follow him. Suspicion had taken root, and they wanted to see where he went, what he did. But as he approached Tepeyac Hill, he seemed to vanish from their sight. They returned confused and wary. Rumors began to stir, but Juan Diego remained unaware. His thoughts focused only on the lady who had chosen him. At the hill, she was waiting radiant as before, with tenderness in her gaze. Juan knelt before her and shared the bishop's request. She listened with perfect calm, showing no hint of disappointment. "Come back here tomorrow," she said with gentle authority, "and I will give you the sign he has asked for." Her voice was filled with confidence. She was not worried. She already knew what must be done. She did not blame Juan Diego for failing to persuade the bishop. She did not scold him for not being powerful or eloquent. Instead, she affirmed him once more. He was the one she had chosen. Her love did not depend on results. Her trust had not faded. Like a mother guiding her child, she continued to walk beside him with unwavering patience and grace. With peace in his heart, Juan Diego thanked her and turned to leave. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden hue across the hillside. Though the road ahead remained uncertain, he felt steadier now. Her promise echoed in his soul, strong and serene. Tomorrow, he would return. She would provide the sign, and all would be made clear in God's time. But even as hope quietly bloomed in Juan Diego's heart, the fragile world around him remained unchanged. Life, with all its uncertainties, could shift without warning. As he made his way home through the fading light, he did not yet know that heaven was already shaping the next step, calling him into deeper trust through a trial he had not foreseen. Chapter 5. Amid Earthly Worries. The night after Juan Diego's second visit to the bishop brought a new trial. When he returned home, he found his beloved uncle, Juan Bernardino, gravely ill. The old man's body was weak, and his breathing labored. His eyes searched Juan Diego's with pain and quiet pleading. this was not just a relative. It was the last member of his family, the one who had cared for him. Juan Diego's heart filled with sorrow and helplessness. Throughout the night, Juan Diego stayed by his uncle's side, doing all he could with herbs and whispered prayers. But the illness worsened. As the morning light of December 12th broke over the hills, he knew what he had to do. He would not go to Tepeyac as promised. Instead, he would seek a priest, someone to hear his uncle's confession and prepare his soul for death. It was a heavy but holy duty. As he left the house, his heart wrestled with guilt and urgency. He had promised the lady he would return that day, but how could he when his uncle's soul was in danger? He chose a side path, avoiding the road that passed by Tepeyac Hill. Perhaps, he thought, she would not see him if he went the long way. He walked quickly, eyes low, praying she would understand his silence. But grace knows no shortcuts. As he turned the bend, there she was, radiant and calm, waiting as if she had known exactly where he would go. The lady appeared on the narrow path, not with reproach, but with love shining in her eyes. Juan Diego stopped, overwhelmed, and lowered his gaze. He stammered an apology, explaining his uncle's condition and his reason for avoiding her. She listened with great tenderness and spoke words he would never forget. "Am I not here? I who am your mother. Do not be troubled or afraid." Her voice, gentle and firm, reached into the deepest places of his fear. It was not blame she offered, but comfort. Her presence quieted the storm in his heart, and he felt her love cover him like a warm mantle. Then she told him something he could hardly believe. "Your uncle has already been healed," she said softly. Juan Diego looked up in astonishment, and in her eyes he saw only truth. The sorrow he had carried was already answered. Even as he ran in worry, she had gone before him in mercy. His sacrifice had not been forgotten. Heaven had acted out of love, just as she had promised. Now at peace, Juan Diego listened as the lady gave him his next task. "Climb the hill," she said, "and gather the flowers you find there. They are the sign you shall bring to the bishop." He bowed his head and turned back toward Tepeyac, ready to obey once more. What he would find atop that winter hill would be nothing less than a miracle in bloom. Chapter 6. Roses in Winter. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Juan Diego climbed once more toward the summit of Tepeyac Hill. His heart was heavy with concern for his ailing uncle, yet obedient to the lady's request. When he reached the top, he stopped in amazement. Before him, growing in the frost-covered soil, was a garden of roses, vibrant Castilian roses, blooming out of season, in a place they had never grown. He approached the flowers slowly, as though walking on sacred ground. These were not desert blossoms, but lush, fragrant roses flowers he had seen only once, long ago, in the hands of Spanish nobles. Their presence here, amid the winter chill and rocky soil, was nothing less than a miracle. With trembling hands, Juan Diego began to gather them, one by one, careful not to bruise a single petal. He opened his tilma, his rough, coarse cloak woven from cactus fiber, and gently placed the roses inside. As he did so, the lady appeared beside him once more. With tender hands, she arranged the flowers herself, positioning them carefully as a mother might prepare a gift for her child. Then she looked at Juan Diego with deep love and said, "These are the sign for the bishop. Go now. But do not show anyone else along the way." Juan Diego nodded solemnly and began his journey back toward the bishop's residence. His tilma was folded securely, cradling the miraculous roses like treasure. He walked with determination, though the road was long and his feet ached. With each step, he prayed that this would be enough, that the bishop would believe him, and that the lady's wish would finally be fulfilled. As he walked, he thought of her words, her eyes, the warmth of her voice. Though tired, he felt a new strength rising in him, a holy energy that came not from within himself, but from the presence of the one who had chosen him. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but from hope. The roses pressed against his chest were more than flowers. They were a promise. He passed through streets and crowds unnoticed, protecting the secret close to his heart. Though others might have stopped or questioned him, he remembered the lady's command and kept his eyes fixed on the path. His thoughts turned toward the bishop. Would he believe now? Would this sign be enough to open hearts and begin the work of God? And as the city came into view, shimmering in the morning light, Juan Diego felt something shift inside. Worry gave way to trust. The lady had not failed him before. She would not fail him now. Wrapped in his tilma, the roses waited, and in his soul, something deeper bloomed: faith, radiant and full of courage, rising like roses in winter. Chapter 7. The Miracle of the Cloak. Juan Diego reached the bishop's residence with careful steps, his tilma gathered gently in front of him. Inside it, he carried the flowers the lady had instructed him to pick, roses blooming in winter, soft and fragrant, unlike anything that should exist in that land or season. The guards recognized him and, sensing something different, brought him quickly to the bishop. This time, no one followed him with suspicion. Something sacred was unfolding. When Juan Diego entered the bishop's chamber, he bowed respectfully and stood silently before him. Then, slowly and reverently, he opened his tilma. As the fabric unfurled, the roses spilled to the floor, bright, fresh, and vibrant with color. The room fell into stunned silence. Eyes widened, breaths held. The bishop looked not only at the roses but at the tilma itself, now fully visible to everyone gathered. Something beyond nature had just taken place. On the coarse cactus cloth of the tilma, a radiant image had appeared. It was the lady just as Juan Diego had described her. She stood clothed in sunlight, with stars on her mantle and the moon beneath her feet. Her face was serene and tender, her hands folded in prayer. The colors shimmered, the lines were perfect, and the image was not painted by any human hand. It glowed with a light all its own. Those present were overwhelmed. The bishop fell to his knees, tears filling his eyes. The priests with him followed, unable to speak. For a moment, there was only silence, the kind of silence that holds awe and reverence together. They knew, without question, that this was a miracle. No artist could have created such a perfect, living image. It was as if heaven had touched earth and left its mark on humble cloth. There was no more doubt. The sign the bishop had requested had come, not only with roses in the heart of winter, but with an image so divine it needed no explanation. The bishop rose, approached Juan Diego, and embraced him with reverence. "This is from God," he whispered. "The Mother of our Lord has truly visited this land." The room, once filled with uncertainty, was now filled with grace. From that day forward, the tilma was treated with deep reverence. It was displayed for all to see, and people came in crowds to gaze upon the image of the Blessed Virgin. For the indigenous people, she appeared as one of their own, speaking their language, bearing their features, wrapped in their symbols. The cloak became more than a garment. It became a sacred sign, a gift to a wounded land longing for hope. Juan Diego was no longer just a messenger. He was now a living witness. The bishop asked him to stay nearby and tell the story again and again to all who would come. And so he did, with the same humility that had first drawn the gaze of the Queen of Heaven. His tilma spoke without words and changed the hearts of a nation. Chapter 8. The Shrine at Tepeyac and the Storyteller. The miracle of the tilma changed everything. Bishop Zumárraga, deeply moved by the image of the Virgin and the roses from winter's earth, wasted no time. He ordered that a small shrine be built on Tepeyac Hill, the very place where the radiant lady had appeared to Juan Diego. It would be a house for the Mother of God, a place where her children could come to pray, weep, and find comfort beneath her gentle gaze. Meanwhile, back in Cuautitlan, something else miraculous had taken place. Juan Bernardino, the elderly uncle for whom Juan Diego had worried so deeply, was fully restored to health. He told everyone who would listen that a beautiful lady had visited him, radiant and loving. She had spoken to him clearly, assuring him of his healing, and she revealed her name, a name that would become beloved across centuries and continents: Our Lady of Guadalupe. News of the miracle spread quickly. People came from every village, carrying stories, questions, and prayers. They climbed the hill barefoot, with tears in their eyes and candles in their hands. Many who had fallen away from the church returned with hearts renewed. The lady's tenderness had touched something deep in the soul of the people. They saw in her not a distant queen, but a loving mother, close, compassionate, and full of mercy. And Juan Diego? He did not seek attention or praise. He moved into a small dwelling near the shrine, where he lived in simplicity for the rest of his days. Every day, pilgrims came, some poor and broken, others curious and seeking, and he quietly told them what had happened. He spoke not with grand words, but with the honesty of one who had seen heaven's light and never forgotten it. Through his gentle testimony, hearts were changed. Juan Diego became a symbol of humble faith, a poor man chosen by heaven, not because of status or learning, but because of his willingness to trust. For the indigenous people of Mexico, he was one of their own. For the church, he was a reminder that God speaks not only through the powerful, but also through the quiet and the small. Years passed, and Juan Diego grew old. His days were filled with prayer, quiet labor, and the retelling of a story that never lost its wonder. When his time came, he died peacefully, his heart full of gratitude. He had walked with the Mother of God. He had done what she asked, and he had remained faithful to the end. His life was a gift, hidden, simple, and holy. Centuries later, the church would recognize what the people already knew. In 2002, Pope John Paul II declared Juan Diego a saint. His Tilma still hangs in the Great Basilica at Tepeyac, and his memory lives on in every heart that finds hope through Our Lady of Guadalupe. A storyteller was chosen, and through him, a nation was blessed. Chapter 9. Our Lady for All People. More than 4 centuries have passed since the Virgin appeared to Juan Diego, yet her presence has never faded. The miracle at Tepeyac was not meant for one moment, one nation, or one generation. It was meant for the world. Pilgrims continue to come by the millions, drawn not only by history, but by a living sense of love. For in every age, the mother still calls her children home. What she began on that hill has echoed across centuries, a message of mercy, dignity, and belonging. To the native peoples of Mexico, she offered hope in a time of sorrow. To the church, she offered a reminder that God speaks through the humble. And to all people, she revealed a God who comes close, not in power, but in tenderness. Her gaze has crossed borders, languages, and generations, softening hearts and awakening faith. She is Our Lady of Guadalupe, but she is also the mother of the unborn, the mother of the Americas, the mother of the poor. She stands beside the refugee, the forgotten child, the mother who prays in silence. In her, we see the tenderness of God made visible. Her hands are folded in prayer for all of us. Her mantle is wide enough to shelter the entire world, and her voice still whispers, "Do not be afraid. Am I not here, I who am your mother?" In today's world, no less wounded than the one Juan Diego walked, her message is more needed than ever. She reminds us that every life matters, that the lowly are precious in God's eyes. That love is stronger than fear. She invites us to trust in her Son, to build bridges, not walls, to protect the vulnerable, and to live with compassion. Through her, the gospel becomes not just a message, but a lived experience of hope. We are all called to be like Juan Diego, humble, trusting, and willing to say yes. Like him, we may feel small or unworthy, but she does not see us that way. She sees with the eyes of a mother, and she sends us out not with grand speeches, but with hearts open to love. In our ordinary lives, we too can carry her presence into a world that longs to be held. And so, we pray not only with words, but with lives shaped by faith. Let us walk with her, listen for her voice, and follow where she leads, always toward Christ. For those who suffer, she is comfort. For those who wander, she is a guide. For those who believe, she is joy. O Mother of Mercy, Our Lady of Guadalupe, you who appeared to the humble and spoke in the language of the poor, wrap us in your mantle of love and protection. Intercede for the forgotten, the unborn, and the brokenhearted. Teach us to see with compassion, to serve with humility, and to walk always in the light of your Son. Strengthen our faith when we feel small. Console us in sorrow, and guide us in peace. Never let us be parted from your care. Lead us gently, Mother, until we rest forever in the embrace of Christ. Amen.